Good morning, everyone. I am Jack Madrid, and welcome to Industry Beacon, where we feature the industry's technology titans who are shaping our future. We're not just talking about success stories, we are diving deep into their hearts and minds to see what drives them as we decode the future, one digital dialogue at a time. This morning, we will talk about the state of the Philippine IT industry and the impact of emerging technologies like AI on our workforce, the economy, global competitiveness, and the growing cybersecurity challenges that come with rapid digital transformation. Here with us today is Philippine Software Industry Association, or PSIA, President and Trustee of IBPAP, Jonathan JDL de Luzuriaga. Good morning, JDL.
Good morning, Jack. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for joining us today. JDL, I'd like to start off our discussion this morning addressing the talent gap, including skills like cybersecurity, which have been among the identified headwinds during the recently concluded International IT BPM Summit. With these challenges, can you share with us, in your words, how the Philippine IT industry is doing?
Well, as you very well know, Jack, the industry changes quite rapidly. And more so now with new technologies coming in, the challenge has become magnified, so to speak. So with AI and machine learning and cybersecurity, everything's transitioning into digital. Therefore, the activities on that side of the equation has just went from 0 to 5,000 feet practically overnight. I wish I could basically say the same with the same enthusiasm as I described the industry 3 years, 5 years back. But because of all of these changes, things have more or less been quite challenging, so to speak. Even the contracts that were usually quite relatively long have contracted a little bit, and the requirements for the talent have become so diverse. We're still playing catch up.
So on that point, JDL, how would you describe the state of the country's IT industry today, and where do we stack up in the global hierarchy?
I'll use the term cautious optimism. We're still number 2 against India. Of course, a very distant number 2, but number 2 nonetheless. And then the Filipino talent has always been very bankable. The resilience as well as our ability to change as a nation has been proven time and again through the years. The PSIA, for instance, has been around for the past 3 decades. And we've been trying to lead the charge in terms of what's around the corner and how we could basically cascade this with all of the other partners that make up the industry, including the academic institutions.
What would you say, JDL, is the biggest challenge of the industry as we chart the road ahead, in the next decade or two?
I guess I can't just pinpoint one. There's several things. One is the ever-changing technology landscape. Second is probably, we have more competitors now. The rest of the world has seen what the industry has done to countries like India and the Philippines and even Vietnam. And they want a part of that action. They want a piece of the pie. So it's important for us to really come together as an entire industry and as a nation so that we could continue to experience the pole position that we have.
Now, one of the areas that's being discussed now is how do we address the skills gap and improving the overall experience of students during their on-the-job training and other initiatives such as increasing the number of immersion hours and giving them more meaningful tasks related to what their programs are. Maybe you can tell the audience, why is training and job internship so important in developing the future IT talent, and what other improvements can we make to address this talent gap?
A lot of people would agree with me, most especially those coming from the industry, that the only real way to learn technology is to become part of projects, especially live ones. So, you could learn theory all you want inside the classroom, but the moment you go into that 400, 600 hour on-the-job training, you have to be part of projects. You have to feel, what it is to fulfill timelines, how being berated by a project manager or scrutinized by a quality assurance specialist, Students have to learn that because that's the real world. You go into any IT services company, that's exactly how we live our lives day to day. So again, how do we now do this? First, on a personal note, I actually created a platform called ojtph.com, which hopefully is going to digitize all of these things. Because, the funny thing is, in as much as everything's turning digital, there are still some practices and procedures that are still relatively archaic, including, the exchange of memorandum of understanding between the school and the company and the application of the students themselves. And also, since now, it's a little bit more liberal when it comes to workplaces. Hopefully somebody who is in a distant province or location in the Visayas or in Mindanao could basically do their OJT in a company that's located in Metro Manila. That now has a lot of possibility. So again, it's very difficult because we're trying to correct in 400 to 600 hours what 4 years has done to the student. But I think it's getting better now, Jack, because again, the schools are very open. Even the government agencies that are in charge of this particular learning segment, in this case, the Commission on Higher Education, is very open to further discussions and improvements with some of the processes that we've experienced in the past decade or so.
Let's go back to skills. What are those specific skills that you recommend our future IT professionals need for us to stay more competitive? And what would you say to key stakeholders from the academia and government to help, again, address the skills gap?
So this conversation happened within the PSIA community, and we were trying to really zero in on what type of characteristics do we really want to find in people that work with us for our respective companies and organizations. And one thing was very common to all: the ability to learn new things fast. And with the younger generation, I think that's very doable. I think you'd agree with me on that one. And then now, when it comes to long-term strategies for this one, I suggest we start them young. If we look at other Asian countries, our neighbors, they're already starting basics of coding even in elementary, further enhanced in secondary school, and then the university level is just really for specifics already. So I guess that's one of the reasons why they're advancing far faster than our country.
When IBPAP first met with the new Department of Education Secretary, Sunny Angara, one of the industry's asks, JDL, was starting the teaching of coding and computer programming to our students at a much younger age. And that seems to be aligned with what you just said.
Yes.
Get them started early. Let's move to the countryside, JDL. You spend a bulk of your time in Bago.
Most of my time.
Most. And some of our viewers may not know what you're building there, but I think you're trying to fuel up the startup ecosystem in Negros. Can you tell us more about that?
So let me just revert back to your very first question. The challenges that we're facing in the IT services industry has given us a lot of opportunity to dabble in product creation. And I think the future of the Philippines is really anchored on that particular angle. We need to create platforms that would be proliferated locally and would eventually go global. Because again, the Filipino talent can. There's a lot of international renowned platforms that have been powered by the Filipino talent. You and I both know this. So why can't we get high on our own supply? That's my question. So now, going back to the countryside, in as much as there's still major challenges, but the pandemic has been very kind because now it urged those, especially in the infrastructure sector, to build more facilities, not only in terms of real estate, but the more important, connectivity. So all of the telcos, they put their back into this, and practically anywhere right now you could work, anywhere in the Philippines. So what my aspiration was, when I assumed the presidency of the Philippine software industry sometime 2015, if I'm not mistaken, I was creating an inventory of things comprising the challenges that we face as a country. Why are we, declining when it comes to the innovation index and, similar structures? And there are several things that came out. One we just talked about, which is the talent gap. It's still there, but it's getting addressed little by little because everyone's looking in the same direction now. The second one is, why are we so in love with services? We're the contact center capital of the world. This is already a known fact the world over. But why can't we actually create something in the Philippines by Filipinos, by Filipino companies, and eventually have this distributed in the entire world? We're more than 100 million Filipinos. All of the platform providers look at us as a very good market. But very few people actually know us as very good creators. So that's the reason why I created this thing called Spring Valley, which is, a very feeble attempt to create a Silicon Valley environment. And since Metro Manila is a little bit cost prohibitive when it comes to real estate, so I decided to bring it back to my own province, which is Negros Occidental. Pretty soon, a new region, by the way.
We're going to go and continue about Spring Valley. But first, we're going to take a quick break. Industry Beacon will be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Industry Beacon. We are still joined by Jonathan JDL de Luzuriaga of the Philippine Software Industry Association. JDL, picking up where we left off, emerging technologies such as AI, machine learning, warrant more skills for our talent to learn. With this rapid rate of technologies being developed, realistically, how can we address this growing demand for specialized digital talent, particularly in areas like AI, analytics of data, and cybersecurity?
So Jack, we need to be both creative and practical about how to address this particular gap now. What's being done in the Philippines right now as far as AI is concerned is really creating APIs, or, I don't want to sound too geeky, but, picture that as a bridge between, the AI platform and whatever manifestation that platform is going to have. So again, what's being done in the Philippines in a very big way, since we're pretty much within the IT services sphere, is we're creating APIs now, going into these AI engines. Because playing in AI requires massive infrastructure, a lot of cost. We're not there yet. But there's a huge need for people who could actually put two and two together. And that's what we call the API aspect of building this. Now, cybersecurity, it's quite obvious. Now that assets are being translated into digital assets, there's more, opportunities for those who do not mean well to basically do something that is damaging to companies and to individuals. Now, the creative aspect of this is that we need to look further into what is really going to grow. So me personally, I'm putting my bet on two things: cloud and cybersecurity. Because regardless of which technology is going to grow, these are building blocks, Jack. So they need, talent in terms of cloud expertise and also specialty in cybersecurity. So as a nation, if we could just really dwell on these two things, I think we'll be okay.
That's encouraging to know. At the recently concluded IBPAP summit, there was discussion about good AI and bad AI, offering opportunities and risks for our IT BPM industry. How do you see AI transforming the IT industry, particularly in terms of job creation or disruption? And what practices can we adopt to ensure a smoother transition?
Well, if we look at the history of the entire IT BPM sector, I'm still very hopeful. Because you've got industries like medical transcription back in the day who successfully transitioned themselves into healthcare information management. And the same goes. I'm going to speak strictly on software development. Right now, the use of AI gives us the opportunity to focus on more important things, which is architecturing the right approach to our customers. Because a lot of people still forget this is all about being customer-centric. And with that, the Philippines is at advantage primarily because that's our mindset. Every person in the country has that particular approach to relationships. And now, because everything has a possibility of getting automated with AI applied on it, then we could now focus on the more important things when it comes to interaction, such as user experience and user interface.
You mentioned what you're building in Spring Valley earlier, JDL. You're a big proponent of countryside development. Your Spring Valley being the center of innovation and technology in Rojas City. The only tech company in the Philippines that has its own township. You've been investing and promoting startups in Negros. What more needs to be done to fire up this startup ecosystem, JDL? And if you can add any advice to aspiring tech entrepreneurs and those looking to join the IT industry.
Right. Let's not wait for the stars to align. We're looking at massive funding coming into the Philippines. It may happen, but it's probably going to be coming in trickles. But every day, when we talk about the startup mindset, Jack, we're talking about solving problems. And obviously, we have a lot of problems locally that needs to be solved. So one of the things that I'm excited about is that the local players, including the traditional companies, are now more open to automation, to using platforms, to digitalization. And that helps our startups actually get some traction. And once we have all of these proofs of concepts all over the Philippines, then I think we're going to garner the attention of other nations. And therefore, it's going to hopefully transform our reputation as a center of innovation and a center of excellence for IT and software architecture.
Advice to aspiring tech entrepreneurs on the skill side. Anything you would like to?
I just like to mention a couple of things that I went through. No, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy convincing people. It's not going to be easy to, keep on pushing for something wherein when you look behind you, you're the only one who's actually pushing that rock. But, as long as you believe in your vision, in your concept, just keep on pursuing that dream. And don't be afraid to pivot. There's a very nice term, no? Pivot to, look at what are the more practical applications of what you're trying to build. But you need to have a lot of grit. And I think that Filipinos have that innately. It's just a matter of really believing in oneself. And hopefully you could find an ecosystem that's going to embrace you. That's exactly what I'm trying to do with Spring Valley.
The future is bright indeed, thanks to what you're building over there. And that is it for today's show. I am Jack Madrid. Thank you so much to our valued guest, Jonathan JDL de Luzuriaga, for sharing your perspectives with us. Catch us again tomorrow for more enlightening discussions on Industry Beacon. You can catch BNC on Free TV Channel 31 and on Cignal Channel 24. Thanks for watching BNC, the Billionario News Channel, always on top.